What would it take for the US to collapse like the Soviet Union? USSR wasn't like USA as it was similar in some ways, but different in others. The world today is different too. USA will not last forever, sure. But unless USA becomes like USSR, it will not be collapsing in the same way USSR did. Unlike most people on this sub, I lived in USSR and in USA. Tune in April 24th to find out in IMAX. Nice try, Soviet Union. A civil war over income inequality and politics. Higher income inequality, which leads to more political extremism, which leads to disaster policies getting implemented. I feel that a move away from oil, or at least the dollar not being linked to the oil standard, would do it. It's not if the US will collapse, but when. Countries, governments, political systems don't last forever. They are prone to corruption and also move too slowly to keep up with modern realities. If you look at a map of Europe 125 years ago, you'll see a huge change. I would guess that the US will eventually break into a union of countries, where the economic collaboration is available while segmenting the cultural differences. Default on their debt. The Soviet Union was politically an authoritarian ethnic state where power flowed from the republics to Moscow and the Muscovites. Russia continues this legacy to this day with a dash of imperialism. The collapse occurred because that authority had made serious blunders and then lost legitimacy with Glasnost and the attempt at perestroika. No such system exists in the United States. Though the government does try to hide secrets, the free press and ideology of transparency has saved us from the worst excesses of authoritarianism. A concern is that today in America there are many who prefer a system of rigid authoritarianism over our current model, which isn't that great either. We're already in a corporate oligarchy phase, which makes it easier, I think, for one person ideology to take total control. If the US is going to be laid low, it will be because of religion and authoritarianism. It won't collapse, it will transform. Not really comparable. The US is a democracy that grants a lot of autonomy to a lot of the states and has a high quality of life. There also weren't any nation-states on US land with their own unique culture prior to the US emerging. Conversely, the USSR was an authoritarian dictatorship that forced already established countries with their own cultures to become part of it. If they weren't forced to become part of the USSR, they were to become a satellite state instead. I mean, look at what Putin is doing to Ukraine now to see what the Soviets did to countries that wanted to leave the USSR or not be a satellite state. The tanks started rolling in. The USSR was more an empire than a country. The writing was on the wall. When you force people to live under and identify with something they don't believe in. It's not built the same way as the SU. USA can lose power, but still be okay and stick together. The SU put too much into one thing, and once it failed, it went with it. Electing Trump is a start. It would take the election of a malignant narcissist, serial lying, authoritarian, buffoon, with an orange glow. About 8 more months. I welcome correction if I have this wrong, but I think that the Soviet Union had economic vulnerabilities that the United States doesn't, many that are related to isolation from the world economy, and some that are related to an inefficient or ineffective use of debt to create global incentives for them to survive. Finally, I don't think they had anything like modern monetary theory involved in their economy, and instead stuck to a much simpler, inflation-vulnerable treasury strategy that probably helped. Dump being re-elected. Re-election of Donald Trump, it would be a complete erosion of American values and the solidification of oligarchs in the US. We're heading there now. Stagnant wages that have not kept ahead of inflation for decades, high interest rates on depreciating assets, high gas prices leading to ever-increasing costs of goods. Once the market cycles and corrects itself, a lot of people are gonna be stuck with vehicles and homes that ain't worth shit that they're still stuck paying for. Vote Trump in again. I think USA power is slowly dwindling. Just remnants of a post-World War II where the world was rebuilding. It was rebuilt to benefit USA. But an edge or advantage that can only be preserved for so long.